No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of Friday Night Smackdown as well as AEW Rampage for August 5th, 2022. Rampage was live this week since AEW was also taping Battle of the Belts. Spoilers for that you could check out over at nodq.com. Battle of the Belts will air Saturday night, but for now, let's get to SmackDown. We are coming off the Summerslam 2022 pay-per-view event. We had a video package showing the highlights from the show. The Bloodline arrived outside the arena. Pat McAfee was celebrating his victory over Happy Corbin at SummerSlam, showing footage, having the replay of the kick low just prior to winning the match. The kick was shown several times, and McAfee did the little drawings that they do for the football instant replays. And if you remember back in the day, Bobby Heenan would used to do the little doodles during the replays, and that's what McAfee did here. Did the little text bubble with Happy Corbin. And then backstage, you had several of the catering crew laughing at Corbin, but then Ricochet stepped up and challenged Happy Corbin to a match. So we had the match. Ricochet was doing his signature moves. He did the dive to the outside, but then Corbin basically turned him inside out with a clothesline, ending Ricochet's momentum. But then the crowd started a bum-ass Corbin chant, and then Corbin got fired up. He continued the assault on Ricochet. He sent Ricochet into the corner. Ricochet basically taking the old Bret Hart sternum first bump into the corner of the ring, and Ricochet was sent into the ring post on the outside. And Corbin did this huge back body drop to Ricochet. Ricochet got some serious airtime, but eventually Ricochet got back into it. And then Corbin regained control. And at this point, Pat McAfee stood up from his seat at the announce table. Corbin was distracted. Stupid heel, which is how it should be. And Ricochet took advantage. He hit the recoil and then did the big shooting star press to score the 1-2-3 victory. Ricochet, in the era of Triple H, picks up a win over Happy Corbin. Corbin's downward spiral continues. And there was a football that McAfee had, and McAfee was throwing the football, playing catch with Ricochet, and then McAfee signed the football and punted it into the crowd. That was a nice little touch there. Good start to the show. Friend of mine, No DQ review panelist, Walter Cruz, sent in a $2 super chat, says, say yes to No DQ and like and share. Hashtag stick to my shtick. Appreciate that, Walter. Thank you for that. Backstage, Sami Zayn was meeting with the Usos, and Zayn wanted to know why Paul Heyman was not answering his texts. Of course, Paul Heyman was F5'd by Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, and Zayn wanted to speak to Roman Reigns in Reigns' locker room, but the Usos said it was not a good time to talk. So Zayn left, but we had a little follow-up to this, which we'll get to in a few moments. We had footage shown from Ronda Rousey versus Liv Morgan, and I will say this now. I know it's coming off the pay-per-view, and I get it, but I'm not the biggest fan of all of these recaps. We really don't need it for every match, and I feel like the opening video package that recapped SummerSlam was like 4 minutes long. It was lengthy. I get why they do it, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. Just throwing it out there. So anyways, we had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Ludwig Kaiser. Shinsuke Nakamura getting another opportunity to get an opportunity at Gunther in the Intercontinental title. Solid match here. Kaiser was able to avoid the Kinshasa with an uppercut. He worked over Shin for a while. Shin made a comeback and picked up the win, finally hit the Kinshasa and gets the match with Gunther. Unfortunately, they're not doing it at Clash at the Castle. I want the IC title to be defended at that pay-per-view. They're doing it next week. Now, maybe there's somebody else in line. Maybe Gunther beats Nakamura, and then maybe Sheamus steps in. Sheamus competing in the United Kingdom for the IC title versus Gunther. Sign me up. Like, I think that would be a hell of a match. So if that's their plan, then I'm all for the Shinsuke Nakamura title opportunity being on next week's show. And Tic Tat Tat, I agree with you. People in the chat talking about Sami Zayn. We had Kofi Kingston with a little backstage promo talking about the crusty ass Viking Raiders and how they tried to put him down. They took out Xavier Woods, but he's still there. He's by himself, but he's going to keep on fighting. And I mentioned Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn once again knocked on the door of Roman Reigns. The Usos answered. They were not happy with him. And Jimmy asked Sami Zayn to go check on the pyro and make sure everything is ready for Roman Reigns' entrance, since the wise man Paul Heyman was not there. And that is what Sami Zayn did. More on that in just a few moments. Next up, we had Kayla Braxton bringing out Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan had her arm in a sling, selling the attack by Ronda Rousey after their SummerSlam match. This was an interesting crowd. They were chanting, "You tapped out," at Liv Morgan, even though she's the babyface. So this might be the first crowd that I could recall since Liv has been on this babyface run that was not exactly behind her. I guess that's what happens when you book somebody like a fluke champion. The fans tend to start crapping on the champ. Anyways, Liv said that's fine. I guess she basically was saying that she deserved the negativity, and she said something that was bleeped out. She said that she only tapped because she thought the referee had already counted 3, and the crowd wasn't really buying this. Sonia Deville then interrupted and said Liv Morgan should not be champion, and Sonia said Ronda beating up Liv made her happy, and she's gonna take away the one thing that means the most to Liv Morgan. And she also said that the whole situation shows how bad Adam Pearce is at his job. Stevie Sweets sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Stevie. I appreciate it. It says, Liv as champion is a snooze fest. See, people already starting to turn against Liv Morgan. It begins. So we had a gauntlet match with the winner getting a Clash at the Castle championship opportunity. The first match in the gauntlet, Aaliyah versus Sonia Deville. And this was pretty standard. Aaliyah got a little bit of offense, but Sonia Deville did pick up the win with the Devil's Advocate, or the Deville's Advocate, I should say. There were some Ronda Rousey chants during the match. This was interesting. Then we had Raquel Gonzalez coming out for the next match, and the crowd started chanting for Liv Morgan. They were booing her earlier, and then they started chanting her name. That was odd. But anyways, Raquel picked up the win here fairly easily with the powerbomb. Next up was Shotzi. Shotzi got in a little bit of offense, but not too much. And she got beat as well with the powerbomb. Then Xia Li came out, started targeting the leg, but then Raquel hit a headbutt, fall away slam, powerbomb, beat Xia Li. So Raquel Gonzalez just mowing through everybody. And then Natalya came in and she got the most offense up to this point of any of the women. Did some submission work. And then you had Raquel punch her in the face, basically, hit her with a vertical suplex. Her knee was bad. She was selling it. And then Natalya took advantage, put on the sharpshooter, but then Natalya went for some punches in the corner, and Raquel ended up power bombing her and beating her as well. So another victory here for Raquel. And then finally, the last person in the match, Shayna Baszler. Shayna, the submission magician, targeted the damaged leg. She put the Karafuda clutch on. Raquel was able to get to the rope, but Baszler kept it on, and Baszler basically rolled up. Raquel got her into a pinning situation, and Shayna Baszler picked up the win. So Raquel went through most of the women, but in the end, she was not able to beat the final competitor, Shayna Baszler, and Shayna Baszler will now go on to face Liv Morgan at Clash at the Castle. Definitely a sign that it is, in fact, the Triple H era, and I'm sure Big Baller G is somewhere celebrating the fact that now Shayna Baszler is getting opportunities and will be part of this major pay-per-view coming up in Wales at the beginning of September. Dr. Scorpio sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, fickle fans strike again. Poor Liv, LOL. Yeah, it is the way it is. But when you book a character to be a fluke champion, when they're supposed to be a babyface and they're supposed to be the best of the best, these things are bound to happen, unfortunately. And Wreck-It Beckett sent in a €2 or £2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, interesting response from the fans for Liv this show. Yeah, but then they started chanting her name during the gauntlet match, which I thought was odd considering that they were chanting "you tapped out" earlier. So yeah, they were definitely fickle. Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. I appreciate it. Says, today in history, 2011, WWE released one of the largest lists of superstars in history, which included Harry Smith, Melina, and Vladimir Kozlov. Yeah, that was a period when WWE was releasing a lot of talent, and then around 2017, they started stockpiling talent. And then finally, during the pandemic, they went back to cutting a bunch of people. But I remember in 2020, and yeah, it was during a pandemic, but people were like, how can they fire so many people? But they were doing it for years. And even before 2011, there would be periods where a lot of people would be cut in a very short period of time. Next up, we had Sami Zayn backstage, and he said he got everything taken care of with the pyro, and he wanted to talk to Roman Reigns, but Jimmy said it's not going to happen, and Jay just got pissed. Jay said that Sami needs to step it up, or he's going to have to take off the bloodline shirt, and he'll no longer be an honorary Uso. They were not impressed with him, but yeah, it definitely seems like we're leading to a split between Sami Zayn and the Usos, and we've all talked about it. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn as a babyface tag team versus the Usos. To me, that's a money match. I'm all for it. I'd love to see Sami Zayn go back to being a face, and I feel like this is where they're going with it. Wreck-It Beckett sent in a generous €10 or £10 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, keep up the great work, sir. Thank you for the live streams, videos, and news you do. Hashtag say yes to no DQ. I very much appreciate it, Wreck-It Beckett, and I hope you're all enjoying the live stream. If you are, please give it a thumbs up on the YouTube page and just spread the word. Tell a friend about NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel. Has Zayn been a heel for 5 years? I feel like it's been less than that, but it's felt like a long time. I really think it's time for him to go back to being a babyface and have his old music, as Michael Wayne points out. We had the Viking Raiders winning a squash match, and it was pretty cool. They just beat the crap out of these two local guys. I enjoyed this very much. I'm all for the squash matches every now and then. Let the monster heel tag team just mow through somebody, and that's exactly what they did here. Ivar ended up doing like a super power slam, and they double power bombed one guy onto the other and picked up a very quick win. But then you had Kofi Kingston come in with a kendo stick. Eric said Kofi was a dead man, and after the break, we had Kofi Kingston versus Eric. Billy L just sent in a comment, says I've been killing it, so I appreciate that. And Billy will definitely consider getting you on a future No DQ review. We're always looking to get some fresh faces on the panel. Anyways, Kofi versus Eric. I have to say, I don't think this was necessary on this show. Like Kofi coming with the kendo stick, that's all we needed. We did not need this match. Kofi hit the trust fall to the outside and then pretty much picked up a quick win over Eric out of nowhere. And to me, it watered down Eric after they had this really badass victory in that squash match. Then you have Kofi beating him. Now, of course, Kofi is a former WWE champion, but I would have just not done this match on this particular show. Like, let us enjoy the Viking Raiders and their little momentum that they got winning that squash match, and let that breathe for a week before you do this match. Just my opinion. And Walter Cruz is super chatting on behalf of Billy L. Big baller Walter Cruz. How about that? He says, for Billy L, here you go, Aaron. Well, thank you, Walter, and thank you, Billy L. I appreciate it, guys. And Jose says Kofi could have won by DQ to save face for the Raiders. I agree. Like, this match was just pointless. This was maybe the weakest thing on the show. And then finally, we had the Roman Reigns promo for him to talk about Drew McIntyre. He had the Usos in the ring with him. And Reigns said that he hates Brock Lesnar, respects Brock Lesnar, still hates him, though, for what he did to Paul Heyman. He said prayers up to the wise man, Paul Heyman. Heyman, of course, F5'd through the table by Brock at the pay-per-view. But then Drew McIntyre's music hit. Drew McIntyre called Roman Reigns the tribal queef. I guess this is TV 14 now, or they're moving in that direction. And McIntyre said he cannot wait for the clash. But before he could say anything else, we had some familiar music hit. And standing at the stage was Scarlett. And sure enough, Karrion Kross, with a full head of hair, showed up, making his return after it's been rumored the past several days. And today, there was more talk about him coming back to WWE. Karrion Kross returns, attacks Drew McIntyre, and repeatedly smashes McIntyre's head into the steel steps. And then Scarlett grabbed the hourglass and placed it inside the ring. Roman and the Usos were still there, and Karrion Kross had a little bit of a stare down with Roman Reigns to end the show. I loved this. Great way to end the show. And in one instant, Karrion Kross is once again somebody special. I said this over a year ago. It's not rocket science. You had something that worked very well in NXT. This guy was a badass. He had his hot wife by his side. They had a really cool entrance. Not the greatest wrestler in the world. I mean, he's solid, but, you know, He's not a top tier wrestler as far as doing all the flashy moves and stuff, but presentation wise, the guy is money in my opinion. And they completely dropped the ball with him last year. So he's back now, and the crowd, not the biggest reaction when his music hit, but for a lot of these fans, their only memory of this guy was him losing to Jeff Hardy and wearing the mask, the stupid mask that he had. Here, he came out there, beat the crap out of Drew McIntyre, had the little face-off with Reigns, and he feels like something special now. So a big thumbs up to this. I love the cliffhanger, what's going to happen next week. Both Raw and SmackDown had cliffhangers, which I definitely think is a positive. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat, says, how many more olive branches do you think Triple H has? Well, I'm sure Triple H is going to try and listen to the fans. And we were talking about Kross for a while now. I think we all, for the most part, I know not everybody is a Karrion Kross fan, but I was a fan of the act, and I even tweeted a few weeks ago that they should bring him back. And I knew Kross wanted that because he actually liked my tweet, so that meant something. And I think he started following me on Twitter, so I guess he really did like that tweet. And I was half expecting it to happen because I think Triple H wanted to give this guy a legitimate opportunity to make up for the mess that was that run on Raw last year. And Robbie just sent in a $5 super chat. Robbie, I hope you're doing well. I hope you and your wife are doing okay. He says, Triple H proves again he's the man. TK is on notice. Yeah, it is getting interesting because now people that left WWE or were released, they went to AEW and they might be like, well, maybe I can get my job back at some point, It'll be interesting to see how things play out with contracts over the next year or so. I mean, for some of these guys that signed with AEW, they have long-term deals, so they're not going anywhere for a while. Hamp Connell sent in a $2 super chat, says, will AEW have to cut people now due to Warner Brothers? That has nothing to do with AEW. I mean, that's the network and that corporation's deal. Tony Khan, it's his money, it's his entity. So, Warner Brothers isn't paying the contracts. That's Tony Khan and his company. So I don't think that's going to matter. And really, I don't think AEW is going to lose out on money with their television deal. I mean, I think worst case scenario, they'll have a similar deal to what they have now, but I still think they're going to get an increase. Like number one show on cable, they have a track record. We did talk about this on the No DQ review, so check it out if you missed it. I think AEW will be fine once their deal is up for renewal. I think they'll be okay. All in all, I think this was a good show. I really liked the ending a lot, and it was a good night of wrestling. So I give it a solid B. Good show, and I'm curious to see what happens next. Now, let's move over to AEW Rampage, and I'll go over that real quickly. Rampage was live due to Battle of the Belts also being taped. Spoilers over on NoDQ.com. We had Jon Moxley versus Mance Warner, who was the winner of the Battle Royal at the Ric Flair's last match pay-per-view, or Maurice Warner. The autocorrect may have screwed up the name. I think it's Maurice Warner. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways, Warner cut a promo, said he's not there to wrestle. He's there to fight. And this match was pretty brutal. Moxley suplexed Warner on a chair outside of the ring. And they went back in the ring, went to the outside again. And Warner gave Moxley a DDT on the steel steps. He got a chair. But then Moxley punched the chair, into his face, and Maurice started bleeding because it's a Jon Moxley match, and you have to have some blood. And then you had Moxley hitting a big superplex. He started biting Warner because why not? And then Moxley started stomping him, hit a pile driver, more stomps, and finally put the sleeper on to pick up the victory. So this was a good match. Warner took a beating, but he hung in there with Moxley, the champ, for a while. But of course, you always got to have blood in the Moxley match. It's kind of a little predictable at this point, but still nice to see Moxley pick up a win here. A good showing for Warner. Mike B, and I liked his promo too. I thought Warner did a good job with the promo. Mike B sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Mike. Says, Bray Wyatt comes back sooner or later. Sorry, I tried to get this in sooner. Never say never, as they say. I mean, I would not be shocked if Bray Wyatt ends up back at some point. You guys tweet Triple H. I'm sure he's listening. I'm sure he's reading the feedback. And if you guys want Bray Wyatt back, if enough people say it, I think Triple H will listen. I definitely feel like Triple H is a guy that's going to listen to internet feedback more than Vince. So you want Bray Wyatt back, you know who to contact. He's on Twitter. Anyways, moving on here. They showed footage from, I guess, after Ricky Starks' Dynamite segment where he had gotten attacked and laid out by Powerhouse Hobbs. Actually, he ran down to the ring to confront Hobbs and got his ass kicked. So I guess QT Marshall's group is offering Starks protection, and he basically told them to kiss his ass. We had Takeshita going up against Nick Nemeth, the brother of Dolph Ziggler. And this was basically a squash match. Takeshita got a quick win here with a running knee to the face. Peter Avalon tried to attack, but he got taken out as well. And Takeshita built up momentum. So funny enough, the Battle of the Belts match, Takeshita challenging Claudio, that was taped before this match that aired on the live Rampage. I just find that funny. And if you want to know if Takeshita was able to win the title, check out the spoilers over on NoDQ.com. We had Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends backstage talking about how things need to change and they're going to stick together. And they decided they're going to go for the trios titles. But then a little monkey wrench and everything. Dr. Danhausen got in there, and I'm not sure what they're going to do, what the combination's going to be, but yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with that. We had former Knockouts champion Madison Rayne making her AEW debut. She's going to be a coach, and she's also wrestling. She faced Layla Gray. You had Stokely Hathaway out there, and Hathaway was basically stomping on the steel steps to provide a distraction. And Gray got the upper hand for a while. Eventually, Madison Rayne got the upper hand. She hit the crossroads, which I think they were calling the cross rain, and she got the win. No surprise here. Afterwards, TBS champion Jade Cargill appeared, said Rampage is her show, and she issued a challenge to Rayne for Dynamite. But then Kiera Hogan showed up, tried to attack Rayne from behind. That did not work out, and Madison Rayne hit the crossroads, taking down Kiera Hogan. This Wednesday on Dynamite, Jade will defend her title against Madison Rayne. Now, when will it take place? Will it be at a different time than 9:15, 9:20? That remains to be seen. And how's it going? Shout out to Ken Terminated by DQ, who recently made his grand return to the chat room. He's been gone for a while. Good to have him back. We had our main event of the evening, tag team match, Swerve in Our Glory versus Tony Nese and Josh Woods. I mean, Tony Nese is in a match. You know he's probably losing. So it kind of makes it anticlimactic for me personally. But, this was a good match. I'll give them that. They did the usual pre-match face-off and Mark Henry saying, it's time for the main event, all that stuff. This was a street fight. You had a little face-off between Woods and Lee. Woods is a pretty big dude. He's standing next to Keith Lee, and he can measure up as far as size goes. There was a funny sign in the crowd that said Vince stole company money, had the $sign for money. In this match, Nese was using the protein powder. He threw it at Keith Lee, and then Swerve kicked it in Nese's face. And a toolbox was used in the match. And then Keith Lee started to make a comeback, but then you had Smart Mark Sterling using a steel chair on the outside of the ring. Why he wasn't just getting in the ring and being part of it when it's anything goes, I don't know. But he hit Lee with the chair, and then there was a double team effort. You had Woods and Nese double DDTing Lee on the steel chair, and they went for the cover, but Swerve came off the top with a 450, and then Mark Sterling got involved again. He hit Swerve with a wrench. He tried to climb up the top rope and put Swerve through a table, but Keith Lee ended up grabbing Sterling and throwing Sterling off, and Sterling crashed through the table. Then we had two tables on the outside, and Woods ended up suplexing Lee off the apron through the tables below. Both guys were pretty much out of the equation. And then back in the ring, Swerve back body dropped Nese onto the chairs in the ring. And then Swerve went up to the top, hit the big stomp, and scored the victory. I'm not sure if this was a title match or not, but the champs pick up the win here over a very game Josh Woods and Tony Nese. Main event was fun. And all in all, I did think that Rampage was a good show. Solid B. Moxley's match was good, and the main event was good. Rest of the show was fine. Madison Rayne showed up. It was, again, a very entertaining hour, as I say every time I recap Rampage. Didn't really feel like a must-see show, but if you tuned in, I don't think you would be disappointed. It was still a very entertaining hour of programming. And it definitely helps when it's live. So that's it, everybody, for tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in for the recap of SmackDown and Rampage. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Like I said, spread the word, tell a friend. Battle of the Belt spoilers over on NoDQ.com. And you can check out the video clip of Karrion Kross if you missed it. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that. We'll have more news about Karrion Kross and other people that might return to WWE. Remember, tweet Triple H if you want Bray Wyatt coming back, or if you want Johnny Gargano, you know who to contact. So take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. And remember to say yes to NoDQ.com. See you all next time.